Okay, we are starting our sixth podcast on our career series. In IT career series, previously we have discussed different aspect of IT career, starting from how your salary growth will look like, what kind of verticals is right. We also discussed in AIML career. We have discussed embedded system. In future, I'll discuss big data and cloud and mobile app. But today, I will discuss something more interesting. That is, as you know, and you have been following news, we are likely to hit a recession. So, very important thing that I want to discuss with you that, especially in kind of recession years, like the one that we may face this year or next to next year, how will you navigate in IT career given the fact there will be waves of layoff in IT? And I've seen such two cycles, so I'm trying to give explanation and some advice from what I've seen so far, and looking at many of my friends and some statistics, that what's the best course of action in IT career when you'll be hit by recession years like this one. This may not be the recession, and maybe the next year and stuff like that. Prior to that, let me know that let me inform you that this webinar or podcast is sponsored by crackingitjobs.com, and crackingitjobs.com runs coding club. It offers internship from various top IT companies. It's a one-stop shop for fresh IT graduates to hone their skills in coding, get internship offers, and it also has the Amazon library of Pocomo books. Pocomo means uncommon questions, which means it offers you a repository of a lot of good questions in Java, JavaScript, and Python. In many cases, that the kind of algorithm and question you need to pass the coding assessment test. So anyhow, let me be back to our topic today, which is how to navigate your career in recession time. Now, the first question to ask is that how likely we are heading towards the economic recession. Now, recession is defined, technically, it is defined by term in which in two successive quarters, GDP will contract. Now, US GDP has already contracted in quarter one of this year. In quarter two, nobody knows, but it likely to get contracted. So officially, maybe in a month or two, there will be declaration that will be in official recession. Also, there is another market definition of recession when stock values will fall more than 20% in 6 months. In that sense, Nasdaq and all other US stock exchange, so Wall Street, Nasdaq, everything has fallen actually quite more than 20% this year. So this also is a clear sign that we are hitting into a recession economy. So those who are getting into the market right now at this year 2022, so those freshers who will join different kind of training and internship in the company in 2022, hoping to start a IT career, this podcast is mostly aiming at them, how they will navigate into the career, given the fact that if there is an waves of layoff, typically freshers are the one to get affected most because they have the least skills. And if there are already jobless experienced IT people, uh, then there will be a problem for the freshers to get in. And we have seen this recurring theme, seen this issue in 2000, recession in 2000, which is called dot-com bubble burst. We have also seen the subprime crisis recession of 2008. This was a recurring and concurring theme. So question is how to float yourself as an IT carrier, as an IT person in those recession years. Now, let me tell you, this is very important, and I hope you are listening to me carefully, because what I've seen in dot-com bubble of 2000 and subprime crisis of 2008, many of the young people who were aspiring for IT careers, they dropped out, and that was unnecessary. Quite a large number of students who graduated in the year 2000, 2001, and then again back in 2007, 2008 when the crisis hit, they dropped out of IT career and they went out to do something probably more secure, like looking for government jobs and stuff like that. Nothing wrong, but essentially many of them give up because they found it very difficult to survive in the market. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that what you need to do if you are faced by that kind of downturn in the job market, which is likely to happen not right now, but it may happen within next 6 months or next 1 year. So, what do you stand in terms of the job market right now, or are you unnecessarily thinking too much? So let me tell you, I looked at all the statistics and data of the US joblessness and the job growth in IT and the number of IT jobs that are outstandingly unfulfilled. So US market is very clear. If you look at the data, even yesterday, there are plenty of IT job position in US market that are open. So yes, there are have been some layoff in some companies that deals with real estate, because real estate is the one who hit get to feel the recession fast. So company like Redfin and others have been laying off, but overall IT job market is still pretty hot and good. There is a lot of unfilled position. So total number of US IT jobs is 3.4 million, and it is still many of the job positions are unfilled, and that is true even today. And I think the total number of unfilled position is somewhere in the north of 400,000 out of uh, 3.4 million, which means out of 34 lakhs jobs, IT jobs in US, still 4 lakhs are not filled. So this is a means still there is a lot of opportunity in IT, and there is no sign of salary growth being reduced or slowing down. On the other hand, in India, looks like IT hiring has slowed a little bit, although this year there has been a great campus. I think most of the IT graduates had got a job. There has not been a year like this. Now, you all have to understand that right now, this is a quarter two of 2022. So, what we are seeing as a job growth or as a job is a reflection of economy that is at least 2 quarters back. What I mean by that is that when recession started in 2000 in a dot-com bust, so that was back in quarter one or quarter two of 2001. Actually, IT market got hit 2 quarters back. I've seen the same thing in 2007. So in 2007, recession started at Q4 of 2007, but the job market was hit hard by Q2 of 2008, which means if a recession start and every economist accept that there is a recession and the companies are conservative on spending, so they started slashing their IT budget. In that case, it takes normally 2 quarters, at least 6 months, to have its effect on the job market. So, for example, right now, technically, we are not yet in a recession, but it can happen as of next month or maybe next year, somewhere in the next 6 months. So once that start, many company will go slow on hiring. Already, this has happened with many of the large techs in Silicon Valley and other new tech companies that were trying to fly very high. The money was almost free from venture capitalists because they're also making a lot of money from the stock market. Now, keep it in mind, most of the IT job are from the new kind of startup that actually runs on VC money, and VC money comes from the share market, and the share market is bad, which is 20% down. Typically, money for the new startup is not so easily available, and that actually means that most of the startup are trying to conserve the cash, and that essentially means there'll be a layoff and not hiring. So this is exactly happening. Now, one of the things that you have to understand that many of the new tech, the large tech, including let's say that Airbnb or Uber, or many of such companies that has gone very big in IT, they are not exactly very profitable company. And it is more true in the context of India. India has around 100 unicorn startup, out of which I think maybe a dozens of them are profitable, but 90% of them are not. And usually they need cash from the investor to survive. And in this kind of recession market, they can't raise the cash because of the fact, especially because the share market is down, there will be no VC to put cash on them. So you see, in India, already in last 4 weeks, there has been 5,000 layoff from most of the startup. Now, not all of them is IT. I think 50% of them in IT and another 50% is in operation, sales, and marketing. But nevertheless, in India, this effect of bad share market has started to the startup. In US, it's not so prominent. There have been some layoff, but still there are a lot of plenty of jobs. So I don't see that there is a reason to be worried now. But I can tell you this, that if the recession start in another 2 3 months, officially job market will be bad in Q1 or 2023 or onwards. So there'll be 6 month or 2 quarter gap. So you don't see it immediately. It takes time to translate from recession to get it affected in job market. So the question is, if you are faced by that kind of situation, what will you do? I can tell you what happened in 2000, at 2000, 2001, and 2008. Normally, if you have a job offers, if you're a freshers, and if you have a job offers from a reputed company like Infosys, TCS, and etc., and if they see that they are actually heading towards the recession market, they may send you a letter to defer your join. It can be even 1.5 years. I think in 2001, when these companies were hit by recession, they actually had to defer joining by 12 to 18 months, but they did respect the joining offers. Other problem that happens in many of you will be joining as an intern, or as a trainee, or as this, kind of some initial employment offer from the companies. And usually most of the companies will give you a permanent job offers after 6 to 12 months, sometimes 6, 8, or 12 months of training. And these companies have the liberty to say no after 8 months of training. So I tell you one interesting statistics in 2000, 2001, especially many of the large IT major, and I don't want to name them because they are one of the top IT majors in India. So on those 2 years, after the training, meaning when you are to get to their compulsory training of 8 months, they rejected approximately 90% of the candidate. Normally, that percentage usually vary between 50 to 70%. That is almost 1 out of 2 candidates they reject in any way, even after training. But those years has been almost 9 out of 10. So you may face that kind of stuff. So what happened is that many of the candidates who have got rejected by those Indian IT major, even after get selected. So you get selected, then you start a internship or the training period with them of 8 months or 6 months, and let's say you get rejected. That is the most common situation in decision market, because that's the best way they can handle the situation. Now, what I've seen, many of the people who got rejected, they thought they are not good enough for IT, and they did not have passion for coding in any way. They just got into those days. They got into market because they wanted to be in IT. They wanted a job, just like another middle class family. So many of them dropped out, thinking that they are not good for the IT careers. So they actually didn't pursue the IT careers even after. Now, what I'm suggesting is that not to do that. You have to understand that when there'll be recession market, chances that even if you got as a trainee and then you got rejected will be pretty common. So in that case, if you get rejected, try to get into a smaller companies. Typically in decision market, getting into a smaller company will be also tougher, because being a small, they don't have a much cash reserve. So even they face a bigger problem, but still you can get by with a probably lower salary. I would suggest that you should accept that kind of offer, so that your resume still look intact. You should still be working. Now you may ask why you have to work in such a low paying job. I would say for the sake of learning, you should do that, and to be in the job is very important in IT job market, because if people see, or the company sees that you're not in job market, you're not actively working, getting a next job will be fairly difficult. Keep it in mind that what you've learned in the recession of 2000, that's the dot-com bubble bust, and 2007, 2008, that is subprime bust. Typically, market came back, the job market become healthy within a matter of almost 18 to 24 months. So it's just a matter of hiding yourself for 2 years, almost 1.5 to maybe 2.5 years before the market start getting heated again, and then you can actually get back to the normal job. But in these 2 years, if you think that you're not getting a good job offers of good salary, and if you don't do anything, uh, then you are likely to be kicked out from the job market even sooner. Now, of course, there are other strategy that people do take during the time of recession. For example, many of them, instead of going to the job, they go for the master's and PhD degree. That also can be good strategy, irrespective of whether the time is a recession time or a good time. But I would suggest you that if you are interested in job market, you should still continue to be in a job, maybe that pays less, but you still should do that so that your skill get honed. And you do, because if you are in a advanced studies like MTech or MS or in PhDs, you not necessarily you'll be trained for the job. You'll get trained for the job only in another job. So keep that in mind and continue and keep pushing, keeping it in mind that in a matter of 1.5 and 2.5 years, that decision will be over. So this video I'm recording in hope that this is the time to come. Almost we are, I mean, most of the economists are certain this is what's going to happen in 97% likelihood right now, because share market has dried up, because the economy GDP is falling. Therefore, there'll be slash in IT budget, and what you see today is 800 job surplus because not getting in US. It will take a 6 month to get that plus 400,000 to minus 400,000, means there will be maybe a half a million layoff, highly possible in 6 months. But these are all speculative things. Something else can happen as well, but it's likely that that's the way the economy is heading, and that essentially means that Indian IT majors will also slash their budget, because already Fed has raised their rate. And what does it mean is that borrowing money is difficult, which means that the business will not be in an investment mode, or there'll be less supply of money, and people have to survive with what they have. And as I said, the freshers will be the first one to get affected. So don't worry, this happens. It's very cyclical. It happens almost once in a decade. All you have to do, if you are actually entering in a recession market, it's a bad, but you still can survive for 1 or 2 years in a small job in IT. Don't stop doing coding practice. Don't stop, doing a job that actually offers you coding, or maybe an MS and PhD program where you need to do a lot of coding. Those things are very, very helpful in general. When the market will be hot, you can return back. So you can take your shelter in a small company or university and come back providing when the job market will be soaring. That's the goal here. That's what the most of the people will do. So I'll stop my podcast here, but keep it in mind that no matter what, if you're a good student, if you're a good coders, then recession, you have a recession-proof career. So in IT job market, out of 10 people that are employed, only one or two are good coders. So at least in India, 90% are not. So if you're a good coder, no matter how hard the recession is, your company will not lay you off. You might have a difficulty in getting another job, but at least the job you are in, you can pretty much hold on to it unless your company really goes bankrupt or shut down, which can happen, but it's a very rare case. So if you're in IT, your fundamentals should be coding skill, and that's why in cracking IT jobs, there are a lot of things that company does to teach you good coding. So we have a lot of books, Pocomo books in Amazon for good coding and good coding question and challenges. We have a coding club that operates every Saturday for teaching you coding. Usually the question comes by previous Friday. You get a two shot at the attempt to solve all those coding challenges, and it's a very good coding problem, taking cues from Google Jam and American Coding League, etc. So in crackingitjobs.com, you will find a lot of resources for good coding, to be a good coder, to challenge yourself in coding. And as I'm telling you, if you're a good coder, your career is already recession proof. So try to push forward with coding so that if you're a good coder, even in a hardest time like this kind of recession, your career will be recession proof. Thank you for today.